The sun rose gently over the city of Kapilavastu, bathing the streets in a golden glow. Siddhartha walked among the bustling merchants, observing the transient beauty of life. His gaze lingered on a young couple laughing joyfully near a flower stall. Nearby, an elderly man struggled to carry a heavy basket of fruits. A child cried loudly, holding onto a broken toy as her mother comforted her. Siddhartha's heart weighed heavy with thoughts of the impermanence surrounding him. As he strolled, a beggar approached him with trembling hands, holding out an empty bowl. The beggar's eyes carried a quiet despair, pleading for help. Siddhartha paused, his compassionate gaze meeting the man's tired expression. The beggar spoke softly, "Master, my days pass in hunger and misery. What hope is left for a man like me?" Siddhartha knelt beside the beggar, his voice calm yet full of empathy. "This world is ever-changing and fleeting, like shadows under a moving sun." He took the beggar's hand gently, continuing, "Your hunger binds you, yet it is not the soul chain. What else stirs your heart with longing?" The beggar hesitated, his words faltering as he answered, "I wish only for bread to fill my empty stomach and ease this constant pain." Siddhartha smiled, his tone soothing and deliberate. "The bread shall ease your hunger for today, but tomorrow it shall vanish like dew at dawn." He gestured toward the bustling market filled with traders and customers. "Observe the people around us, running to and fro, chasing desires. Their pursuits keep them enslaved." A merchant argued loudly with a customer over the price of fabric, each intent on winning the debate. Siddhartha continued, "They grasp at things that cannot endure, unaware of the sorrow such clinging brings." The beggar looked at Siddhartha with moist eyes, asking hesitantly, "Master, how can one escape this sorrow? Must I abandon all desires to find peace?" Siddhartha stood and helped the beggar rise, his voice carrying the weight of wisdom. "Renunciation does not mean rejecting life itself. It means freeing yourself from attachment to what cannot endure." A woman nearby dropped her basket of flowers, scattering petals across the ground. Siddhartha pointed to the fallen flowers, remarking, "Even beauty fades, and what remains is emptiness. See this clearly, and freedom shall be within reach." The beggar nodded slowly, his expression contemplative as he gathered his thoughts. Siddhartha continued his walk, the beggar following silently behind. They approached a serene pond surrounded by lotus flowers in full bloom. Siddhartha knelt by the water's edge, cupping the clear water in his hands. Life is like this water, pure and flowing, yet easily muddied by greed and desire. He let the water slip through his fingers, watching it ripple back into the pond. Release your grasp and let it flow. Only then can you see its true essence. A bird flew across the pond, its reflection briefly mirrored in the still water before vanishing. Siddhartha gestured toward the fleeting reflection, adding, "Everything arises and dissolves. Accepting this truth brings peace." The beggar sat beside Siddhartha, his gaze fixed on the lotus flowers swaying gently in the breeze. Siddhartha spoke again, his voice firm yet gentle. "The path to liberation begins with understanding impermanence. Only by walking this path can one escape the cycles of suffering." The beggar sighed deeply, his voice trembling as he asked, "Master, can a simple man like me tread such a path? Will my burdens lighten?" Siddhartha turned to face him, his tone encouraging and compassionate. "Every soul carries burdens, but the path is open to all, rich or poor, young or old." A child nearby laughed joyfully, chasing a butterfly with carefree abandon. Siddhartha gestured toward the child, saying, "Look at the child. She lives without clinging, her joy arising from the present moment alone." The beggar smiled faintly, his spirit lifting as he observed the carefree child. Siddhartha rose to his feet, extending a hand to the beggar. "Come with me, and I shall guide you toward the truth that liberates." The beggar took Siddhartha's hand, his heart filling with newfound hope as they walked into the distance. Together, they journeyed toward the unknown, seeking the wisdom that transcends suffering and impermanence. As night descended upon Kapilavastu, Siddhartha gazed at the stars above, their light piercing the dark sky. He whispered softly to himself, "To awaken is to see clearly, beyond the veils of illusion and ignorance." His resolve grew firmer, and he vowed to walk the path of renunciation, no matter the obstacles, and so began the prince's journey into the world. Leaving behind the comforts of his palace to seek truth, he wandered tirelessly, guided by compassion and wisdom, meeting those bound by sorrow and offering hope. The teachings he shared transformed lives, planting seeds of liberation in hearts longing for freedom. Thus, Siddhartha Gautama embraced his path, marking the beginning of his renunciation and the pursuit of enlightenment. The golden streets of Kapilavastu faded behind him as he ventured into the vast unknown. His journey was not for himself alone but for all beings seeking release from suffering's grasp. The beggar's footsteps echoed softly beside him, a reminder of the interconnectedness of all lives. Siddhartha glanced at him, his eyes serene and filled with purpose, and said, "The path is long, but the truth shines brightly, guiding us through the darkest nights." The beggar nodded, his spirit alight with determination, ready to walk the path toward liberation. Together, they disappeared into the horizon, their hearts united in purpose. Another day began as the sun peeked over the horizon, casting gentle warmth upon the tranquil forest. Siddhartha sat beneath a towering tree, his gaze fixed on the ground. A soft breeze rustled the leaves, carrying whispers of the earth's eternal rhythm. Villagers passed by, carrying baskets and tools for their daily tasks. A group of monks emerged from their small huts, clad in simple robes, their faces serene. The head monk approached Siddhartha and offered a slight bow, his voice calm. "Master, the villagers have gathered in the fields for their morning work. Would you like to join them?" Siddhartha rose slowly, his movements deliberate and graceful. "Let us go to the fields and observe their labor. There is much to learn from the simplicity of their lives." Together, they walked along the path, their bare feet pressing gently into the soft earth. The fields stretched wide, golden grains swaying under the sun's tender embrace. Farmers worked tirelessly, their hands moving with rhythmic precision. Women carried pots of water, their steps steady despite the heavy load. Children ran playfully, their laughter ringing like the sound of bells. Siddhartha paused, watching the farmers plow the earth with unwavering dedication. Turning to the monks beside him, he said, "Look at their hands. Calloused yet strong, they sow seeds for the village's sustenance." A farmer wiped his brow, his face glistening with sweat, yet his spirit seemed unburdened. Walking further, Siddhartha observed a woman kneeling by the river, filling jars with water. Her posture revealed quiet endurance as she worked diligently. Siddhartha spoke softly, his voice filled with admiration. "She labors not for herself alone but for her family, her love woven into every task." The head monk gestured toward the workers, his tone reflective. "They toil without complaint, their lives rooted in harmony and humility. Yet the world often forgets their quiet contribution." Siddhartha smiled faintly, nodding in agreement, and began walking among the villagers. As he approached the farmers, one of them stopped working and turned toward him, his expression curious. Siddhartha greeted the farmer with folded hands and said, "Brother, your effort sustains this community, yet your spirit remains light. What keeps you steadfast?" The farmer lowered his plow and replied, "Master, I work not for rewards but to serve my family and village. Such service brings contentment." Siddhartha nodded thoughtfully, his words gentle but firm. True humility arises when service flows freely. Unbound by pride or expectation, the farmer bowed and returned to his labor, his movements filled with purpose. Siddhartha continued walking, his gaze scanning the fields and observing the interconnectedness of life. A butterfly fluttered past, landing delicately on a blooming flower before taking flight again. Turning to the monks, Siddhartha spoke calmly. See how the earth gives generously, asking nothing in return. This is the essence of selflessness and humility. The monks listened intently, their expressions contemplative as they pondered his words. Nearby, a child knelt by the riverbank, gathering small pebbles and arranging them in patterns on the ground. Siddhartha approached the child and crouched beside him, watching the simple act unfold. The child looked up and smiled brightly, his joy radiating pure innocence. Siddhartha spoke softly to the child. Little one, what guides your hands as you arrange these stones with care? The child replied, Master, I wish to make something beautiful, even if it lasts only for a short time. Siddhartha smiled warmly and said, Your act carries humility, for you create not for yourself alone but for beauty's sake. The monks gathered by the river, observing the scene unfold, their robes fluttering in the breeze. Siddhartha stood and addressed them, his voice resonating with clarity. Humility is not only a virtue but a bridge connecting all beings. Through service, pride dissolves, and harmony prevails. A woman carrying water approached Siddhartha, her eyes reflecting curiosity and respect. She bowed lightly and asked, Master, how can one truly embrace humility while still fulfilling worldly duties? Siddhartha answered, Live with gratitude, mindful of the gifts surrounding you. Serve without seeking recognition, and humility shall flourish. The woman bowed and continued on her path, her heart uplifted by the Buddha's words. Siddhartha turned toward the monks and gestured to the flowing river. See how the water moves freely, nourishing all without discrimination. Humility mirrors this gentle, selfless flow. Hours passed as Siddhartha and the monks observed the villagers' work, their lives filled with simplicity and purpose. The sun began its descent, casting warm hues across the sky. The farmers finished their tasks and gathered near the fields to share a simple meal together. Siddhartha joined them, sitting cross-legged on the soft ground, his presence radiant yet humble. The villagers offered him food, bowing as they presented their meager portions. Siddhartha accepted gracefully, his heart filled with gratitude for their kindness. As they ate, Siddhartha spoke to the group, his voice calm and serene. In each act of giving, humility emerges, reminding us of our interconnectedness. Cherish this bond and live with compassion. The villagers nodded, their spirits united by the wisdom shared among them. The night descended, the stars twinkling above as the villagers returned to their homes. The monks gathered by the fire, their faces illuminated by the warm glow. Siddhartha sat silently among them, his gaze fixed on the flickering flames. After a long pause, Siddhartha spoke softly, Brothers, the true wealth of life lies not in possessions but in serving others with humility and love. The monks listened intently, their hearts stirred by the depth of his words. Siddhartha added, A humble soul carries no pride, seeking only to nourish the world around it. The fire crackled gently, its light casting shadows on the trees. As Siddhartha fell into quiet reflection, the teachings of humility had resonated deeply, planting seeds of wisdom in the minds of those who listened. Another day came to an end, its lessons etched in the hearts of all present. Another day began as the sun's light filtered through the leaves, casting soft shadows upon the earth. Siddhartha sat beneath the Bodhi tree, his posture steady and his mind serene. When the mind wanders, gently return to the breath. As one steers a boat back to its course, Buddha advised, his tone soothing. A young disciple asked, Master, How long must we practice before the lake of the mind becomes still and clear? Buddha replied, the practice has no end. For the lake reflects the sky as long as it remains undisturbed by force. A group of monks gathered nearby, their robes fluttering in the gentle breeze, their expressions calm. One monk approached Siddhartha, bowing slightly and speaking with reverence. Master, we have fasted and meditated, yet the truth remains distant. How shall we awaken? Siddhartha gestured for them to sit, his voice calm but resolute. The path to awakening is not through extremes but through balance and mindful observation. The monks seated themselves, their gazes fixed on Siddhartha's radiant presence. He continued, neither indulgence nor denial brings liberation. The middle way leads to clarity and peace. A breeze stirred the leaves, their soft rustling blending with Siddhartha's words, accentuating the tranquil atmosphere. One monk spoke hesitantly, his voice tinged with curiosity and doubt. Master, how does one discern the middle way amidst the chaos of worldly attachments? Siddhartha's gaze softened, his tone warm yet firm. The middle way begins by recognizing impermanence, seeing all as fleeting and embracing the present moment fully. He gestured to the sky above, its hues shifting gently as clouds passed, transforming the canvas of the heavens. Like these clouds, life is ever-changing. Grasping at permanence is the source of suffering and delusion. A squirrel darted across the ground, its quick movements drawing the monk's attention briefly. Siddhartha observed the squirrel, remarking softly, see how it moves freely, guided by instinct yet adapting to its surroundings without resistance. This too mirrors wisdom. The monks listened intently, their expressions reflecting contemplation and curiosity as Siddhartha continued to teach. Nearby, a weary traveler approached, his face lined with exhaustion and his footsteps heavy. The traveler knelt before Siddhartha, bowing deeply and speaking humbly. Master, I have wandered endlessly seeking answers but have found only confusion. What path shall guide me? Siddhartha gestured for the traveler to sit beside him, his voice carrying compassion. Your journey reveals the longing within, yet clarity emerges not from seeking externally but from observing inwardly. The traveler nodded, slowly, his face reflecting a blend of relief and curiosity. Siddhartha gestured to a stream flowing gently nearby, its waters clear and steady despite the obstacles along its path. Observe the stream. It flows effortlessly, adapting to rocks and bends, yet remains true to its course. So must your mind. The traveler gazed at the stream, his expression softening as he absorbed the imagery and wisdom. Siddhartha continued, when the mind is steady, neither clinging nor resisting, the truth becomes visible and awakening begins. The monks and traveler listened intently, their hearts stirred by the depth of Siddhartha's teachings. A lotus flower floated on the stream's surface, its petals pristine despite the water's movement. Siddhartha pointed to the lotus, saying calmly, the lotus arises from mud yet blooms untouched, a symbol of purity amidst challenges. This is the nature of awakening. The group sat in silence, their minds reflecting on the profound metaphor as the sun climbed higher in the sky. A monk turned to Siddhartha, his voice earnest. Master, how do we cultivate such purity within ourselves amidst worldly distractions? Siddhartha replied, purity arises through mindfulness, seeing clearly without attachment, and embracing compassion for all beings. His words resonated deeply, planting seeds of wisdom in their hearts, ready to flourish over time. He continued, true awakening is not separation but connection, knowing oneself as part of the vast, interwoven whole. Nearby, a bird landed softly on the tree's branch, its movements graceful and deliberate. Siddhartha observed the bird, remarking, the bird does not cling to its branch, nor does it resist the wind. It moves freely, embracing its nature. The monks watched the bird, their gazes reflecting newfound understanding as they pondered the significance of Siddhartha's words. The traveler spoke again, his voice tremulous. "Master, my burdens feel heavy, my failures vast. Can one still awaken with such darkness?" Siddhartha turned to the traveler, his gaze kind yet piercing. "Darkness is not the end but the beginning, for light emerges only from shadow." He gestured toward the horizon, where the sun illuminated the distant mountains, dispelling the lingering mist. Even now, the mist dissolves before the sun's light, revealing clarity and peace. The traveler's expression softened, his voice steadying as he said, "Master, I shall strive to observe without fear, embracing both my burdens and my blessings." Siddhartha nodded, his voice encouraging. "Through acceptance, wisdom grows, and the path becomes clear. Walk steadily, for awakening awaits all who seek." The monks bowed slightly, their hearts filled with determination as the teachings resonated deeply within them. Hours passed as Siddhartha continued to share his wisdom, guiding them toward clarity and understanding. The sun reached its zenith, casting light upon the forest and filling the air with warmth. Siddhartha rose and gestured for the group to stand, his voice serene yet commanding. "Let us walk together and observe the beauty and impermanence of life as it unfolds around us." The group followed him, their footsteps light yet purposeful. Moving as one with the rhythm of nature, they reached a hillside overlooking the vast landscape, where the fields stretched endlessly beneath the open sky. Siddhartha gazed at the horizon, speaking softly. "This view reminds us of life's infinite possibilities, yet also its fleeting nature. Both are to be embraced." The monks and travelers stood quietly, their hearts absorbing the wisdom and clarity of Siddhartha's teachings. Another day ended as the sun began its descent, casting hues of gold and crimson across the landscape. Siddhartha's presence radiated peace, a guiding light for those gathered around him. The group returned to the forest, their hearts united in purpose and their minds ready to tread the path of awakening. Siddhartha sat beneath the tree once more, his gaze steady and his spirit unwavering, silently reflecting on the journey of life. Darkness enveloped the world, yet the light of wisdom shone brightly within their hearts. "Effort is the river that reshapes the stone of habit," he explained, his words poetic. The disciples sat in reflective silence, the weight of Buddha's teachings sinking into their hearts. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.